a good time. Put a smile on your face, yeah. Can be Cam and Elation Radio. Even brighten your day and help you through the night. Bring you good music. Can be Cam and Elation Radio. And here's your host, Kim and Kim.
Hello, my name is Glenda Johnson, better known as G Johnson. When I'm not busy, I like tuning in to Elations Radio on Saturday nights with Apostle Irvin A. Whitlow Jr., where the topic of discussion is making marriage meaningful. It appeals to the saved and the unsaved. It's for couples who are married, couples who are thinking about marriage, and for those who are divorced yet considering remarriage. Now, this discussion, Making Marriage Meaningful, is the most explicit, authentic relationship talk live here on Elations Radio. So save the date and time on your calendar. We look forward to hearing and seeing from you at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 9 o'clock p.m. Central. So tune in to the broadcast and be blessed. Amen.
Welcome to Making Marriage Meaningful. This is your host, Apostle Irvin Whitlow.
Well, hey, good people, hey, married people, hey, single people, hey, you people who are thinking about getting married, I say welcome to Making Marriage Meaningful. I'm your host, Apostle Irvin Whitlow. Excited to be with you. Listen, we've got some great discussion lined up for you tonight. So let's get this thing rocking and rolling and going like it's supposed to go. All right, but let me put this disclaimer out there. I am not a relationship specialist or relationship expert. I just share things that God has given me over the course of the past 25 plus years of relationships that I had, that I've been in and out of. I've learned some things that just might you in your relationship if you're willing to take heed. Now, I must put this other disclaimer out there. This conversation is real, because we're going to deal with some real stuff, whether it's from the Word of God or whether it's from my personal life or those who join me. This conversation is raw. I mean, absolutely raw. You're about to hear some stuff that you might not even want to talk about, not even to your own self, but it's going to be what it's going to be. Finally, I'd like to submit to you that this conversation is very much relevant, and we're looking forward to what the Lord will say to us through this time. Please let me make sure that you know I do not do this discussion all by myself, although I could, because I have a thing to talk, and I don't mind talking. But I'm not made to talk by myself on this particular podcast. And so I have those that God has allowed me to connect with and share with. We have some who are married, some who have been married, some who ain't thinking about being married, and some who are not sure if they want to be married, whatever the case is, but they have some experiences, and we want to share those things with you. So please do welcome with me. I want to start with the big guy all the way in that northern region up there. You know, he's a preacher. He's a reacher. He's a real dude. I mean, he's got a PhD in theology, and he probably, almost like me, he probably got a PhD in Negroology, and probably got another PhD in romanticology. I don't know. He may, you know. But I'm talking about the one and the only Apostle Vincent L. Smith. Are you with us, sir? I thought I heard him. Okay. Wait, say it again, because I couldn't hear you.
You said you thought you heard a Tweety Bird?
No, not no Tweety Bird. Nope. The Tweety Bird thought you saw a pretty cat.
He really said, I thought I saw a Cadillac.
Oh, nice. Might have seen a black one. God bless you.
Bless you, man.
Amen. There's another guy up there in that northern region who's quite knowledgeable in a number of ways. I don't even know if he's here tonight, because I think he's supposed to be on vacation. And if he's here, he's in trouble. Amen. But I'm going to check anyway. I'm talking about Bishop Designate Ernest E. Richard Jr. Are you here, sir?
First and foremost, you have to know how to handle your business to be able to go handle your business.
Ooh.
Oh, you basic. Listen, don't worry about me, because I wouldn't be on this phone if I thought it was going to create a problem. And besides, like I said the other day, we got our stuff worked out to where we can handle our business. We ain't even in trouble for tomorrow night, just so you know. See how good I got it? Anyway, let me leave that alone. How you doing?
You're a bad boy. You must know how to make your marriage meaningful. That's why you ain't in trouble.
That's why I ain't in trouble. That's exactly why I'm not in trouble.
Amen. There's a quiet person who always is on this podcast with us, but she always has a lot to say. She shares it with me very often, and so I want to hear some things from her tonight. Prayerfully, she'll get an opportunity to speak up, and we'll hear something from her. I'm talking about the one, the only, Lady G. Johnson. Come on, woman of God. I know you're here somewhere.
I know you ain't called me quiet. How you doing tonight? Praise, bless the name of the Lord. Hallelujah.
Amen. Thank you for being here tonight. Amen. You quiet one till you ready to speak up. So I didn't tell a story. Let me see. I want to see, is Brother Otis and Lady Otis Gabriel here tonight?
The Gabriels are present and accounted for.
I knew I could count on you. And they're good people, and we thank God for them. Now, finally, there's the one who is the producer of this show, who makes sure that the show is ready, and I thank God for her. So would you please say something to me, Dr. Timmy Robinson, also known as Lady Timmy Tim?
Something.
Lord help her.
You said say something. I said something. Hello.
Lord help her.
Okay. I'm praying for you and your sarcastic. Anyway, I can have you. Thank God for you. I don't want to miss anybody in case anyone else is here. Is there anyone else? Anyone else is here? I haven't called your name. You're here. All right. Well, thank God for each and every one of you. We appreciate you. Amen. In Jesus' name. Tonight, Brother Gabriel, would you open us up in prayer, please?
Almighty God in heaven, we thank you for this privilege. We thank you for this opportunity to come before you on this Saturday evening, this blessed day, Heavenly Father, that you have made. Father, we're together for the sole purpose of carrying out your commandment, the commandment, Heavenly Father, that you gave in the Garden of Eden to Adam and Eve in the first marriage, the first couple, Heavenly Father, to be fruitful and multiply, and to be fruitful in many ways, meaning to be productive, Heavenly Father, to do your work and do your will. And we thank you, Heavenly Father, for selecting us and blessing us for that job. We ask you to be with us tonight, dear Lord God. Open up our hearts and open up our minds, and we will share our experiences, our knowledge, our expertise, Almighty God, with one another in an effort to make the lives of ourselves and others more productive, to have a higher quality of marriage. Be with us, Almighty God, and bless us in all that we do and all that we say. In your holy name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, man of God. All right, here's our scripture. As you know, our foundation scripture, Genesis 2:18 through 25. God said, it's not good for the man to be alone. I'll make him a helper, a companion. So God formed from the dirt of the ground all the animals of the field and all the birds of the air. He brought them to the man to see what he would name them. Whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. The man named the cattle, named the birds of the air, named the wild animals, but he didn't find a suitable companion. God put the man into a deep sleep, and he slept. As he slept, he removed one of his ribs, replaced it with flesh. Then God used the rib that he had taken from the man to make a woman and presented her to the man. The man said, finally, bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh, name her woman, for she was made from man. Therefore, a man leaves his father and mother and embraces his wife. They become one flesh. The two of them, the man and his wife, were naked, but they felt no shame. we've been talking from the subject for the past 2 months, I believe, about are you marriage material? And we have gone through a number of discourses talking about, man being by himself because they prefer to be alone. Some people are by themselves because they're just too independent. There are those who are just simply too selfish, those who have been too hurt, those who are incapable of showing love or affection, those who evade their true feelings. Some people are not prepared to lead the single life. They're not mature enough. They don't understand the real value of marriage and how the bed is undefiled. They have been in violation of covenant. We talked about that. We've talked about some of the different things that people go through in this thing called the marital relationship. So there's been a number of things that we've had to look at. We talked about how some people are not marriage material because they don't know how to build one another up. We've come up with how they're used, that we need to find ways to avoid tearing one another down. Over the course of time, we've talked about something that Adam did. He used his discernment, and then he gave her definition. Because without discernment and definition, we understand that there is deception and disappointment. When we talk about discernment, we understand there's two types of discernment: spiritual discernment and natural perception. To be able to determine who are family, friends, and associates, that helps us to motivate what our discernment is. We talked about that. One of the things we talked about on last week is, and this was just something that we kind of pitched out, that the man, he had seen a whole lot of beasts. He didn't see anything that was suitable to be called a companion, and that exists now. A lot of what he look at are more like beasts instead of someone that's suitable. When I say that, he looks at, excuse the expression, he looks at a hoe, and he says, a hoe can't be my housewife. That's not going to work for me. He looks at a female dog, and he says, I ain't messing with that, female dog. I'm not being bothered. I'm trying to help somebody tonight. There are certain things that he sees. At the same time, there are certain things that she sees when he passes by. Like that dog, he low down, he's shamed, he's sniffing in everything, he's trying to hump on everything, and it's not beneficial. So these are some things that have become an issue. So we understand that God really had to put this man into a place of maturity to bring something forth that he could really gravitate to and see as beneficial. When the man recognized and discerned that this was what he needed and what was for him, he made it clear, this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. We're going to call a woman because she was taken from man. Here's what I want to get to tonight, and I'll probably deal with this maybe tonight, and who knows, maybe next week if the Lord says the same. I want to deal with this part. It says, therefore, a man leaves his father and mother and embraces his wife. They become one flesh. Tonight, I want to, with this same subject, are you marriage material, I would like to talk from the thought exclusivity. I want to make sure you heard me clear. I want to talk from the word exclusivity. That might sound like a big word, but if you look at the root word of exclusivity, you would find the word exclusive. Simple definition: restriction to a particular person. Restriction to a particular person. Exclusivity. So the text says, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, embrace his wife, the two shall become one flesh. Here's the thing. There are a couple of different things about exclusivity that I have to deal with. But let's start with this part when we talk about exclusivity and leaving the father, there are things that the father lays as a foundation that becomes inculcated into a man or a woman. Because what I've discovered is that fathers are meant to produce security. And if there's no security, there can be real issues. So I want to start here with when a man leaves his father, he leaves that security. All right? Come on, Apostle Smith. I normally kick it off with you. Tell me what you think about that. When a man leaves his father, he leaves that security that the father has, if you will, established to create exclusivity. Talk to me, sir.
When a man leaves father and mother, as I said on last week, he should already be prepared for his exodus from home. If that young man has left home and every weekend he's still calling back home asking for $50, $100, $200, well, he has not left home. He just changed apartment. He just changed addresses. Because when you really leave home, it means you go out to fend for yourself, to find your own way, to handle your own business. You don't even leave home to go out and keep having mama giving you her opinion on how you're supposed to live. Or daddy telling you, boy, did you take out the trash today? Well, if you didn't take out the trash, then that's your house smelling. Not that. So when we talk about leaving father and mother, we're talking about a young man that has listened, a young man that is he's been trained at home. Now he's able to execute the training on his own without any input. I'll let somebody else come. They got something better to say to me.
Let me hear from you, Sister G.
I totally agree with what he just said. You know, if he's been trained at home, then he can go out and execute what he has learned from his father, which is making him to be a man and to be able to hold on his own without calling back and forth. I need $20. He has to grow up and learn how to get that on his own or fend for himself and so forth and so on. So I can't add anything anything else to that because I just totally agree with that.
Amen. Bishop Designate?
I'm right here. Well, primarily what needed to be said has been said, and there's not much more that I'm going to add to that portion. I mean, with everything that we're dealing with in this day and age, I find it important for us as men to be cognizant of where we are, who we are, what God has called us to be, and to recognize that the woman that he's called to walk alongside those of us who are married is not our doormat, not our floor mat, not our carpet, not our grass or anything of that nature. She is to walk with us, beside us, not behind us or ahead of us. That's pretty much all I can add to that.
Okay. Come on, Brother Gabriel. Let me hear. I know you got something to say.
Yes, indeed. This exclusivity, first of all, look at it as you are restricting yourself to just a narrow area. this is going to be exclusive. Nothing else is going to be involved. So when I hear that in marriage, that means that I am going to restrict myself to this one person for certain elements and traits and things that I would need to have a wonderful life. And since it's going to be exclusive, that I am going to do the same thing for the person that is doing the same thing or something similar, which is equal and opposite for me. And the way I look at that is for me. This is personal. When I decided to be exclusive with the woman that I have, is I was going to protect her, keep her safe. I was going to provide for her, is to give her everything that she needs. Now, these privileges, these were only given to her. I didn't protect other people. I'm not going to provide for another person. I am not going to love another person. I am not going to find how to earn so that I can have a good life with anyone but her. And then the way I can do that, the way that I am prepared, because I have had training, and this training that I have to love, earn, protect, provide for my wife is more important than learning how to drive a car. It's more important than learning how to operate a computer, because this is something that is going to be lifelong. It's just going to get better, and that I have the exclusive responsibility for doing all these things to take care of her health, wealth, and her welfare. Now, in doing so, that there's something else that comes up with me, and I think about the conditional. Are these going to be provided unconditional? And I'll say, the answer is no. I want my wife to love me. I want to be exclusive. I want her to love only me. And when you get that combination going, then I feel that you are under God's protection. You are doing what God has asked us to do, and that is one of the assurances of having a good married life.
Okay. There's something that you said, and I pulled 3 words basically out of that. I think that will become helpful because, again, I want to make sure that you get this. And Dr. Tierney, I'm getting ready to come to you in a moment or two. But the thing that I want to focus on is that when a man leaves his father, he's leaving his security. Again, when I speak of his security, I'm talking about that foundation that he had that, if you will, helped him to stand to be who he was or who he has become. So the 3 things that I want to look at when we talk about security is we want to talk about how that young man is to protect, provide, and produce. Because I think that between Apostle and Sister G and Bishop Dedrick, they all said something very much similar when they said that if that young man is out of money, he has to go find it. He has to go find it. Because what? He's establishing a new life. He's establishing a new household. He's establishing a new structure, if you will. So he's the one who has to protect. He's the one who has to provide, which means that has to be within his means to do so. And what he doesn't have, he must produce. So protect, provide, reproduce. This is necessary in exclusivity, not for the neighbor, not for a friend, not for anyone else, but the one he is establishing his life with. So here's what the Bible says. A man who doesn't provide for his household is worse than an infidel. So I want you to think of what an infidel is, all right? And I want you to think about that, and I want you to talk to me, Dr. Kinney, about an infidel. I want you to talk to me about an infidel. Hello? Come on, take yourself off of mute. Talk to me. Come on, Dr. Kinney. I don't want that dead air. Come on.
Hey, I'm so sorry about the news, but yes, you guys have been talking a lot about what it takes for a man to be raised, and I really agree with what was said. I really believe that a true man learns from a good example of another man, and that is what I would like to say. So, what was the question? I was just really commenting about what I heard. It was really good. What was the question, the second question that you addressed?
Come on, talk to me here.
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Hello.
But I'm telling you, I'm asking, what is an infidel?
What is an infidel?
Yes. Do you know?
I'm trying to. You keep going in and out. I'm sorry. Infidel.
Do you know what an infidel is?
Infidel.
No.
What is an infidel?
All right, Bishop Desmond, would you explain an infidel, please?
Well, really, an infidel is a person. If you go by the Webster's dictionary, it's a person that basically has no basic religious background. He's pretending to be something that he's not. An infidel, from a biblical perspective, is one who is said to be extremely foolish and stupid in their thought process. Paul talked about it when he spoke to Timothy. He said, a man who will not provide for his household is worse than an infidel. So when you talk about an infidel, you're talking about somebody who is deemed exceptionally foolish and stupid with no base morals. They're selfish people. They're really selfish people. I mean, if you want to call them anything, the word to describe them is selfish. They're more about themselves than they are about anybody. They have no regard for their family, no regard for their wife, no regard for their children. But they don't mind standing in the streets and telling everybody they married. Notice they're standing in the streets and not working.
Okay. Well, boy. So let's deal with that. Someone who is foolish. How can you really be exclusive and call yourself ready for a marital relationship if you're going to be foolish about what is necessary to establish a new family line? Talk to me, Apostle Smith.
When you asked that original question, what is an infidel? If you read some translations of the Bible, it also makes this statement that a man that does not provide, take care, or watch over his home, in regard to that word infidel, it said he's worse than a backslider.
You fool.
Wow.
That was some translations say he's worse than a backslider. A backslider, as we know, I guess we know, is a person that knows what to do in regards to God, but start walking away from it.
Okay.
So when you talk about an infidel, it's a man that knows he ought to work. It's a man that knows he ought to bring his money home so that it can be divided and take care of some bills, buy some pants or shirts or whatever for the little young men and young women in his home. But rather than bring the money home, he brings it to the bar. He backslides his home. He backslides on his responsibility. And he's down at the bar buying Susie a drink with his wife's name is James.
A fool.
He's down at the bar buying beers for the boys while his children ain't got no milk.
A fool.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting ready to get to that, Bishop Desmond. If you want another scripture that goes with this, it says the fool has said in his heart, there is no God.
There is.
So it's a person that has lost the regard of responsibility by God's means, by God's interpretation. I'm going to do this thing my way. They got the Frank Sinatra attitude.
A fool. I keep saying a fool, Apostle, because of the fact that there's only one word that describes that kind of person, and there's a bunch of them in this day and in this age, and even in this hour that we live. And yet they want you to respect them. They want you to have high regard for them. They want everything, but they want to give nothing at all. I'll say it one more time. A fool.
Yeah. Come on, Sister G. I feel you want to say something.
I mean, it's all been said, really. An infidel, the definition I was looking at, a person that does not believe in religion or who adheres to a religion of their own. They have their own religion. What they say is their religion. That's it.
Wow. Now, listen to this. It says, I'm looking at something here on the social media with Facebook, and Pastor Vivian Riley says that an infidel is mindless, thoughtless, and inconsiderate, as well as ignorant to God's word. Look at all of this. Mindless, thoughtless, and inconsiderate, as well as ignorant to God's word. These are things that are very critical to understanding if a man is going to leave his father and his mother, then he cannot be mindless. He cannot be thoughtless. He cannot be inconsiderate. He cannot be ignorant to God's word. And here's the issue. A lot of people are getting married, but they're getting married without God's word. They're getting married without God's principles. They're getting married without God's standards. And that's why we have a lot of people who are calling themselves married to the same sex. There's no word of God in that. You haven't established anything for that life. Oh, boy, that's mindless. That's thoughtless. That's inconsiderate. Who are you being inconsiderate of? You're being inconsiderate of God because you're ignorant of his word. That's not an infidel. Oh, boy, I done messed up with somebody. These are things that are important, but yet people are missing, and they're missing is because what they've done is they have excluded God. You cannot exclude God from something he created. How can you be marriage material, but you don't even honor the one who established marriage? Let me tell you something I've discovered. A person who gets into a particular craft or a particular field, they study who created it. They study what they were seeking to do with it, and they seek to make it their own. How can you make something your own if you don't know who created it and why? I wish somebody would talk to me tonight. Come on, somebody. Talk to me on this. People jump into their own without God. How then can they really leave their father and mother and think that they can establish something and they are ignorant of God's word?
Because
keeps coming up. That same word. Go ahead.
They made their own religion. It's the religion according to them.
Wow.
They're either they are they're the curator of a 7-letter word called foolish. They are the curator. And you got to say it for. See, the thing about it is we can dance around it, give it 75 different definitions, but it still comes down to the word fool. And there is no other word that's listed in the Bible that describes a person who walks in that caliber of life. There's no other word. I mean, once you've gone past God, you've gone past stupid. And I'm not calling God stupid. I'm saying your mentality just describes you as having gone to the level of stupid. When you think you're able to go past the one who makes the sun, the star, the moon, and the sky, gives you life, puts breath in your body, causes the follicles in your hair to grow, if you still got hair, if the one who can name and number every hair on your head, and let's just be honest, some of us got some bushy heads. Let's just be real about that. What makes you think you know more than the Creator? Boom. I say it again. F-O-O-L. Boom.
Wow. You saying something here. You're saying something. But I want to ask you something. Did you say that you went and created your own religion?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Basically.
So that's what creating their own religion.
Well, what do you think when these people are in the pulpit who have all kinds of titles? They're in the pulpit. They call themselves pastors. They're same sex. They're they're same sex. The man is called the first lady or the first man or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, they have created their own religion. So these people in the church, I guess you could call them infidels.
Okay. So you're saying that this is an issue that has come from the pulpit because people in the pulpit are not operating according to God's word. Is that what you're saying?
Some of them aren't.
So then you're saying they're infidels in the pulpit.
Brother Hope,
exactly right.
Let's take that a little step deeper. And Rich is right. He keeps using that word. So let's punch the ticket. The Bible says the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. The fool says, I'm in charge.
That's exactly it.
The fool says, this is my marriage, and I rule.
There you go.
The fool says, this is my money, and I do what I damn well please with it.
Right.
You know what? Give him that prize, y'all. Give him the prize.
The fool it said the fool said not with his mouth, but in his heart. And so then you have to attach it to G. Johnson. If you said God is not in charge of the marriage, then you have made yourself God.
There you go.
Wow.
And now you want your own.
That's right.
That's why we got so much mixed up stuff going on now. I told y'all one night about the singer. What's the crazy girl name? Erykah Badu. Erykah Badu is married to 3000. What's that
Andre.
Andre
3000.
She's married to Andre 3000, but they live in a cul-de-sac of people, other married couples, but in that cul-de-sac, she can sleep with any man in the cul-de-sac, and they don't call it adultery because she slept with somebody within their community. Adultery is adultery.
Exactly.
But they made their own religion of foolishness, and Andre 3000 can do the same thing. He can sleep with any woman in that particular community, and it's not called adultery. That's against the word.
Wow.
That is
So they
totally
made their own bylaws.
So
basically,
it sounds like to me. It sounds like to me is that if this man is going to leave, see, it's watch this. Let me say this first. It's one thing to leave home. Let me make sure this is clear. One thing to leave home. It's another thing to create a new home with a new spouse. I want to make sure that's clear, because we're not talking about a man who just leaves his father and his mother just to get out the house, because sometimes some of these young men are put out the house between 18 and 21, depending on when their mother and father say it's time for you to go. I know some people who say when my child hits 18, they graduate from school, they got to go. I don't care where they're going. They got to get out of my house. That's one thing. But it's another thing when you're leaving home because you're going to start a new home with somebody else. So I don't want no one to get this mixed up, okay? Because you can leave home and you can live on your own and you can be crazy and riotous and do all of this stuff you want to do. But if you're going to leave home and you're going to create a life in a new home with somebody else, there's got to be some ground rules. There's got to be some principles. There's got to be some standards that you've got to set in order to know that this is going to be what you call a marriage. Because exclusivity, it does not have no inclusions. Oh, please hear me. Let me say it again.
You're saying the right thing. You're saying the right thing.
So there's got to be some restrictions here. Come on, talk. I know you want to say something.
Listen, and the scripture is crystal clear. Take your choice of your version that you want to hear. For this cause, 3 words that people pass over and walk by. For this cause shall a man leave father and mother. Now here come the 2 words, or the next 3 words, that people want to twist like a pretzel, throw some salt on it with some must chew on it in a different light. Shall a man leave mother and father and cleave to his wife? Wife is singular. If you look at it in the Hebrew writing, the word wife is singular. It is not plural. It doesn't say leave his father and mother and cleave to his wives. It says wife. So it's singular. Like I said, we twisted stuff around. Mankind has twisted this word, and I'm going to say this too. Somebody don't have to agree with me, but we're going to have to go back a little bit. I mean, the colonizers of the early states of our of what we know here in the Western civilization were good for twisting things in their favor so that it sounds good for them and not necessarily what God says. And I'm saying that to simply say this. In today's situation, people are doing what they're doing because they just feel like, somebody already said it, so I'm just going to repeat what I just heard. The fool have said in his heart, there is no God. In other words, that fool is saying, in essence, statement, I am. That's what they're saying. I am.
Okay.
That's really what they're saying.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to.
And also,
come on, make your statement, Sister. Hold on, Brother Otis. Let me hear what Sister G got to say real quick. Hold on, sir. Come on, Sister G.
And some people, it's kind of known, like when they have a lot of money, millionaires and billionaires, they feel there's no God. Their God is money.
Okay.
That's right. That's
very
right.
True. That's very true. Amen. All right, Brother Otis, come on. Let me hear you, sir.
Oh, yeah. I was looking at the different terms that we were using. Like with the religion and the infidel, it's like to me the religion is we believe in something, we worship it, and it's a supernatural being, and we have a set of rules called established rules, ethics, principles, sets of behaviors that we're supposed to comply with when we are part of this religion. And an infidel is not restricted. It doesn't have any parameters that they will operate within. And so they would make up their own rules and standards and set of ethics and behaviors. And then by doing this, many times is they would resort to what we had just described as foolish behavior, and that is making decisions that will not be profitable. There's no premium in what they're doing, and it can often be harmful. And in a marriage, if a person doesn't have the religion, an infidel, then the person would begin to behave foolishly. And that foolishly, again, would be making decisions such as saying we have an open marriage. And then what that does, that just totally dissolves the issue that we talked about tonight, exclusivity. There's nothing exclusive about bringing in other people into the marriage. That no longer exists. And with the religion, that would be something that we would adhere to and respect. So the leaving home, when we get married, say leave home, we're talking about just finding an abode or a place for, like me and my wife and my new family that's going to result from this marriage, to live. But it does not mean forsaking your mother and father because you become of a certain age. It just means moving out if you can. But then I was wondering about that. Does a person, leaving your mother and your father, that mean that putting space between, or does it mean just a separation from rules and from the rules that the parents have over a child, and then you would no longer be considered a child? So that is what we're separated from, is the behavior, the parent-child relationship. You could still live in the same place, like if you had a big farm, could you continue to stay there and be in compliance with what the Bible says about, leave and cleave, leave this and cleave to that. That's something I was looking at, and it doesn't seem as if you really have to depart physically in order to leave and cleave to a wife.
Well, can I say this? And hearing what you said, Brother Otis, I greatly appreciate that. You're right in a sense, but when you use the word cleave, or, even if you use the word leave, I mean, we understand what both words mean. But anybody who is going to leave or cleave is creating a separation and putting themselves in a state where their rules are the rules. All right, for example, my parents, God rest both their souls, they're both going on to be with the Lord. Primarily, if I'm going to stay in the house of Ernest E. Richard Sr., then Ernest E. Richard Sr.'s rules apply. But now I want my own set of rules. And in order for me to have my own set of rules, I need to have my own house. I can't stay in Ernest E. Richards Sr.'s house and then try to apply the rules of Ernest E. Richards Jr. It's just not going to work. Because Ernest Sr. is going to up and say, I built this. Your mother and I put this together. You go find your own place in space, and then you can be the boss, whatever the cost may be. You can be enlarged and in charge in a place in space that you can call your own. So I'm hearing what you're saying, but at the same time, if what you're saying holds true in terms of you don't have to leave to be able to cleave, then there's a problem because you have never left. You're still under the same rule and authority that you were under when you were 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. And if they say close the door, lock up, 12 midnight, if you ain't in the house, you ain't coming in. Guess what? You better have a key or at least a combination to the security system or something.
Okay, so I wanted to ask a question. I've been listening, and like Apostle Smith, I have a question. And I don't care who attacks it, as long as somebody attacks it. We are in a time and in a society where we know that many of our young men, even our young women, grow up in a single-parent home. So my question is, can a man be an effective husband if his father hasn't been in his life?
Mm-hmm. Sure can. Sure can.
So a man can be a husband even if his father hasn't been in his life. Could you please explain to me?
Well, here it is. There are two different types of males that we deal with. And you can be trained to be one of the two. There is what's called the alpha male, and then there's what's called the beta male. Now, in understanding the alpha male, that alpha male has been properly trained and taught, has been properly instructed in the ways of life and how things ought to be and how they should be. And the alpha male, when he goes out to search for his quote-unquote lioness, or that individual, that young lady that's going to walk alongside him, not because he's cute, not because he smells good, not because he's metrosexual, but that lioness wants to walk with that alpha male because he's strong, he's secure, he's dominant, having dominion, not necessarily domination. The beta male is what I call the mama's boy. And I'm going to call it the mama's boy because he's good up until it's time for him to make a tough decision. And then when it's time for him to make his tough decision, guess who he's going to turn to? Mama! Mama! That ain't working. That ain't working. Now, if you're going to be one to leave and cleave, you're going to have to be developed into an alpha male. Now, let me answer your question. Maybe that individual has uncles, male cousins, and people of that nature that know the way and have wisdom in the way and can teach and train him to walk in that way. So, yes, a man can be a good husband not having had a father in the home.
So then, when he leaves home, is he really leaving his father, or he just leaving home?
When it says leaving father and mother, we're under the assumption that father was part of his life. And if his father wasn't part of his life, maybe his uncle was part of his life. Or if it wasn't his uncle, maybe it was his strong male cousins. Whoever's dominion he was under, he leaves that to create his own. Each and every one of us on this telephone, and Brother Otis, you're the oldest of all of us, so I think I'm going to step back and let you address this one. We found ourselves at some point leaving the home of our parents and moving forward to a place where we were establishing ourselves in society. Now, it hasn't been easy. I'll be the first to tell you. The very first time I got married, trust me, I was scared to death. There was a few things in life that I wasn't really familiar with, and I learned the hard way over time why I'm having the level of success in the marriage that I'm in at this present point in time, because I learned from the mistakes. See, let me say this to somebody that might be listening. If you have been divorced, taking the L does not mean you have lost. Turn that L into a lesson. And from that point, take that lesson and move forward so that you could be better the next time around.
Okay. Anyone want to respond to that? Come on. Speak up.
I agree. Okay. Well, I'm just going to say this, my ex-husband grew up in a male and, well, with a father and a mother. The only thing is that the father was hardly there because he was trying to supply for 8 kids. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he was a beta male, sort of, because the father was not around. He was trying to make ends meet.
Okay. Anyone else?
I want to say that I disagree because my auntie, who raised 3 sons on her own without a male, working 7 days a week, both of them are exceptional husbands and grandfathers and husbands, and they're still married. They've been married over 30 years. And I still see, like my oldest cousin in Kansas City, they are still dating. They've been married over 40 years. So I can truly say it just depends on the circumstances, because my auntie, she raised them by herself. They were never on welfare. She had 5 kids. So it just depends on the situation.
Okay. Anyone else? Apostle Smith, what's going on? You're quiet.
No, I was wondering, what was the last question, Apostle?
No, we was responding. We were listening to the response of Bishop Judgment concerning, right. He was talking about the alpha male versus the beta male. So how we were talking, because the question was, can a man be an effective husband if his father hasn't been in his life? And he said yes, based upon what kind of male he is. If he's an alpha male, there's no problem. If he's a beta male, there may be some problems. Okay,
I understand what you're saying now, because when the conversation first started, that's one thing my wife said. She said, how about the families where we were talking about when the man's supposed to leave home and cleave only to his wife, and to use all the training that he has seen, and also to use all of the principles of being married that he has seen modeled. If a person comes from a home where there is no father, then that young man has not seen anything modeled by a man in the home, except from the neighbors, and then maybe some of those are a little bit dysfunctional. So the main thing that I would bring from that is that what we should do as men is to encourage other men, especially young men, to learn about this religion that we have, and be part of this religion that we have, and to learn how to be a father, how to be a parent. And one way to do that is to have an exclusive relationship. And they're talking about the alpha male. That's the one that does the providing. That's the one that definitely does the protection. He professes love, proves his love, and just does all the things that a real man's supposed to do. We call him the real macho man, the real family man. So when we get a male like that, and we should be able to, or we should be driven to, encourage younger men to take a look at what he is doing, and then that would create more and more, and we would have a better community of young, married, middle-aged, and senior married people.
All right, let me flip the script. Let me flip. Yes, sir.
I do this only for those who are trying that disturbance is back in the line.
Yes.
And if I get out of here, I know those who have joined us tonight is having a problem also.
Okay, I don't know where it's coming from tonight. I don't know where it's coming from. So I pray that Dr. Kimmy can locate it and isolate it if possible. But here's what I want to do. I want to flip the script. We've talked about a man leaving his father and mother. What about the woman? When it comes to exclusivity, what should the woman be leaving? Somebody talk me here. We understand what a man is supposed to leave. What about a woman? What should she be leaving?
The first thing we would like as a man, the first thing we would like a woman to leave would be formal relationships.
Go ahead now.
Yeah, that would be the first thing we would like folks to leave. And I have also learned from experience that I am not going to expect my wife to cut the bonds between her and the mother, because that's going to be there. But as far as the parenting, there's always going to be some overlay between if there are parents on both sides, there's going to be some overlay and interaction and even some influence to a certain degree, from mild to severe influence in the family based on the parents of the bride and the groom. So that forsaking does not mean we're going to get angry with them and say, don't talk to me anymore. I'm on my own. I'm grown and gone. And I'm going to just do what I want to do. Because I think that it's still a good relationship when a young man can talk to his father, a young lady, a bride can talk to her mother, and we can still have a wonderful relationship even though you're not living under the same roof. So we want to always maintain that level of peace, love, and harmony with the family and with your now immediate family and with the extended family that the grandparents will become part of.
Can I add to that?
Come on.
I think one of the things we're looking for a woman to leave is the opinion of her mother and father.
There you go.
The father sometimes has an attachment to the daughter.
Amen.
And he still want to have the last word when it comes to whatever she's going through. That's no longer his place.
All right.
And then sometimes you got that mother too opinionated.
Come on.
I don't know why you got to do it that way. Y'all should do this. Y'all should do that. That's not husband have to figure out what to do, how to do it. And when you keep putting your opinion in where it's not asked for, then you cause friction in that marriage, because any child that has really had a good relationship with their parents don't want to break their heart when they give opinion to what you should do. So now you cause friction, because after a while, that man's going to say, who did you marry, me or your parents?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Well, can I add to that just a little bit more, if I can? And it'll be very short, I promise you. Very short. You're asking that woman to leave the security of the family that she's already a part of. Because, I mean, if it's done correctly and according to the word, it's not the man who necessarily leads his family. It's the man who establishes his own family, but asks the woman to leave the security of her family. I heard what Apostle Smith said, and he's absolutely right, because we got a lot of daddy's girls out there. Let's just be real about that part. And daddy is going to try to have the last say. And then, of course, every father doesn't think any guy is good enough for his daughter. But he comes to a place and point where he realizes that his daughter is in love with this man, and that this man is good to her, because a good father is going to take time to observe this man who is trying to date and eventually marry his daughter. And if you are a good man, you will give yourself time and space to get to know that woman's family and her friends and those people whom she associates with. And then even more important, because this doesn't happen anymore in this day and age, you got women proposing to men now in this day and age, which is puzzling to me. So now I'm beginning to wonder who's really wearing the pants in the family. But the thing is, any good man would, if the girl's father or uncle or male figure in the family is alive, would go to the member of that family and ask for that daughter's hand in marriage. A family will respect you if you go back to the Bible and do it right. But, I mean, you just turn around and scoop her up and elope and you head for Vegas, and you got her on this wild ride. Mama don't know where she is. Daddy don't know where she is. And then you come rolling in here to my, I was married now. You know what your father's thinking already. Get the funk out of my face. Let's just be real about it. Come on.
Let me go this direction. First thing, I want to ask this question. Can a woman leave her mother and father and really cleave to her husband while holding on to her father's name?
All right, ladies. Come on, ladies. Come on, ladies.
Yes. Yes, there are many different answers to that. I just heard the Apostle Smith talking about, he said security. Now, sometimes, well, there are just different relationships with each couple. Sometimes that's security. I've seen the security work with a young family, a young couple will get married, and then when things did not go right, the marriage, the relationship, the behavior of the couple would really begin to become dysfunctional, and because the daughter would still have the love and the security of her family, once she leaves that house of her new husband, you know where she's going. You see, she is going, and she said, back home. And not, it should be described as I'm going to my parents' house, because where you are now is your home. But she said, I'm leaving and going back. So that's a form of security. Unfortunately, there was a couple that I was too familiar with where the husband decided that his wife was like one of a child, and when she did something that he didn't like, he decided to deliver punishment, physical punishment. And she got on the phone and called her brothers and her cousins, and the husband had a visit from her brothers. So she did not just break that relationship with her family. She still had it, and in that area again, there was her security. Her husband decided not to slap her anymore after the 4 people came over and talked to him that night in the same manner that he had talked to his wife. So that was the end of that. That security, as you see, works several different ways.
Lord Jesus. Oh, God. Talk to him, huh? You say, brother, they went and talked to him, huh?
Yes, they had a serious conversation.
I guess so. I wonder who did all the talking. I don't need to ask that question.
Yes, that's right. They had a conversation. Wasn't a word spoken. When they came in, when the husband opened the door, they went into action.
Pow.
Irvin Whitlow, on the question you asked, I have a sister-in-law. I'm going to talk about 2 situations. I have a sister-in-law that still uses her maiden name. But she did it only for the purpose that she was handling business for her mother and father, who had become aged and sickly. And some of the things that she was handling for them required her to maintain the name. But she was smart enough that if she was not doing business for them, when she signed her name, she only used the first initial as though she had a middle name. She never used that name unless she was doing business that required her to use it. Now, I'm going to get personal. I got married to one that held on to that name. They held on to that name to flaunt the fact that I could do that. Because there really wasn't all that much business that they had to do innovating. They held on to it, so when they got upset, they can say, I'm a so-and-so. Well, truthfully, when it comes to marriage, you are no longer a William if your husband's name is Thompson.
That's true.
I was in a service one night, and it was for one of the bishops, but one of the elders got up and was making reference to his wife and how well she sticks with him and all that. He said, I'm talking about Sister so-and-so, called the middle name, and then called her maiden name, and then his name. The bishop yelled out from his chair, there is no more Sister so-and-so. She is now. He canceled that statement right there, right there. Really, that kind of thing, that hyphenated name came in for business purposes. But a lot of people that's doing it No, when you get married, you said, I'm willing to lose the name that I have to become everything that he is.
Okay.
That's true. That's true.
I have one more question. We're almost out of time, but I need to, and this is going to be a heavy one. This is going to be a heavy one. When we talk about leaving for exclusivity, we understand leaving family, leaving parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins, in-laws, sororities, lodges, social groups, and so on. We understand that, but the thing we never take time to talk about is, do him or her leave their children too?
Oh, you done stepped in something now. It's starting to step now.
But we need to go here.
Mm-hmm.
My 55 thinking.
In reality, most people do not.
We understand
but
that.
They are part of the leaving. If you have they are part of the leaving until y'all do your cleaving and weaving, and then you come back to them to make them the one family that you have become. If you don't, they're gonna try to rule. They're gonna try to rule and reign and keep confusing.
Let me share something with you, and this is an actuality in my life. I have two sons, biologically mine. I have other children, but I have two biological sons. My oldest son's mother passed away. When I married again, my oldest son was part of me and the extension of me, the heir apparent to what I'll call the Richard estate, if such a thing existed at that time. Yes, he does, because first of all, he was 12 years old. And where am I sending him to? He's not going in the system. You can kill that noise. And so before I even decided to get married again, it was established that my son would be coming with me. My younger son, his mother was still alive, so he went with his mother. And both of you know all of y'all know my youngest son because he's our minister of music at this present point in time. Since the time his mother has passed on, but he's a grown man when his mother passed on. My point is this. Those children, if they're underage, are part of you and an extension of you. Therefore, they become part of the blended family. Now, if that woman has a problem with this, or let's go on the other side. What if that woman has children that are underage? They become part of that family. And if you're not willing to accept those children, you're not really ready to accept him or her. End of story. There's no ifs, ands, no in-betweens, no gray areas, because first and foremost, those kids were brought into this world. No, they weren't asked if they wanted to come. They were not, they're here. What are you going to do, abandon them? Because you got one member of this so-called marriage that doesn't want extra kids in the marriage. And now I'm going to say this, too, because this is a hurtful thing. And I know somebody listening to this podcast is probably going through this, and I want to share this with them. It could be a situation where your children are accepted, but her children are not, or vice versa. Well, sir, ma'am, you are in the wrong. You are dead wrong. Big DEADWRONG. Because number one, it's a package deal. And if you're not going to take all the bags that come with that package, don't touch the package. Simple as that. You're going to sit there and give these port. Go ahead.
Bishop Designate, you make the vow. The vow says forsaking all others.
But children are not part of the forsaking of all others of turns to those nosy busybodies that are going to come in and hamper and hinder and put the marriage on the rocks and at risk. Those children ain't putting their marriage on rocks. Now, they may be some bad kids. I got to say that, too. But, I mean, you got to know this going into this thing. You just can't walk into that marriage thinking that you're going to be walking down the streets of gold and you're heading for the Emerald City. You're off to see the wizard. That ain't happening.
But then it becomes a problem.
Brother Apostle, there is a difference between forsaking all others and leaving folk behind.
Okay.
Now, in the question asked, the real truth of the matter is that's where most confusion comes from, that we do not give a period where the children, no matter what age, minor or old enough to have their own family and grandchildren, we do not establish a time period where those children must stand off so that we can establish the families that we have. We know we got to take care of them. Nobody's saying leave the children. We're saying that there must be a time of coming together. There must be a time of understanding. This is not the family we were, but this is now the family we're going to become. And the only way you can do that is to separate, not leave, not abandon, but separate and not say, these are my children, those are your children, and all that. You got to get all that together. And it takes time, and you can't do it catering to yours because somebody's going to feel left out. So you have to take that time to establish the full house.
Okay, I would like to respond.
That's before marriage. That's before marriage. Go ahead.
No, I would like to respond to that. And when we're talking about a blended family, we have to realize the reality of it is that when a person in our community gets married, and they are anytime if the closest, once you get 25, if you marry after the age of 25, then the likelihood is very, very likely that you are going to have a blended family. And then each year after that increases that possibility. Now, when that happens, there are specific rules and principles that must be applied in a blended family. And these rules or these principles for a successful marriage is driven by the age of the children, the gender of the children, the relationship that you're going to have, say with the man, with the father of those children, and what kind of relationship will the mother of the children have. And you have to consider those. You can't ignore it. You can't just lean over and say, well, we'll work it out as the problems come up and we will try to solve them. You have to make some type of rules or some type of standards that you're going to comply with. And I like what Apostle Smith said. When that happens, you don't refer to them anymore as her kids, and these are my kids. These are our children, because now you are married. And that the children are just as much a part of you as the rest of your body. You can't separate that because these are yours. And you can have a beautiful and wonderful marriage if you begin to establish the standards and how they're going to be retreated, how they're going to be regarded when you get married. You can't ignore it.
I want to make sure that there's an understanding, Apostle Smith, because we're getting ready to get out of here. But I want to make sure there is an understanding. Please share the difference between leaving and forsaking. Please share the difference.
Leaving means that I don't want to be bothered. In the simplicity, because we run out of time. Leaving says I don't want to be bothered. Just like the statement that came out from the educational piece written by George Bush. He said, "Leave no child behind." When the actual statement was, "Leave no child left behind." So, actually, what they were saying was, don't let anybody be left out. But to forsake says, I must disconnect for a period of time. There is now when people get married and we say forsake, that don't mean don't never speak to your girlfriend again. You know, I'm talking about on the woman's side. That don't mean don't ever speak to your best friend again. On the man's side, that don't mean tell your boy go somewhere get lost. That means you're gonna take the time. Oh, thank you for that, Lord. Now the word says when a couple gets married, what's supposed to happen next? They supposed to spend the next year getting used to each other. So that's word.
Mm-hmm.
I look at that.
Okay.
And truthfully, that's why a lot of marriages are so weak. Because they haven't forsaken. They got into the marriage with no time to build up each other. And they got these children, and they still got other folk opinions, and they had no time to really get to know each other and find out what their plan was to be, and now it's a mess.
I look at leaving.
For the first time in our covenant relationship, I'm gonna tell you to hush. You're going too far. Listen. Come on, real quick, Brother Otis, real quick.
Yeah, I was looking at leaving is just causing a physical separation, like relocating. Like I left home to go in the army, but I didn't forsake my parents. It's talking about forsaking. I look at that as leaving when you are needed. And people say, I had been forsaken, that left at a time when they were needed. The individual left had no little intentions of returning. And that is forsaking, but leaving means you just gone for a period of time, and you may come back. And you do come back. It's not that you are leaving them and abandoning. I think that would go along with forsaken also is abandoning the family or your spouse or your family. So that would be the difference. One is just a physical separation, and one is more like abandonment when needed.
I think we'll have a discourse, if the Lord says the same. I think we'll have a discourse on this wise on next Saturday. We are not out of talk. We are just out of time. We invite you to come back next week, Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, Lord, 9 Central, right here to the same station, stop it, to the same station, to the same channel, the same page for Making Marriage Meaningful. And we don't want you to walk good and talk bad. It's not a good combination. I say to you married folk, 2 words tonight. Roll over. If you're single, 2 words. Cold shower. Those are the only things I can help you with. All right? And always, always, always remember that your marriage will be meaningless until your mate becomes meaningful. Go with God, and He will, and He will. Go with you. Dr. Kenny, do me a favor. Drop it like it's hot. I'm talking about that track. Good night. Shalom. Peace.
Before my life begun, I'm so glad that my problems stay with you. With confidence I know your grace will pull me through. Well, you promised to always be there. I trust in you because I know you can. Lord, I got a situation that is going on in my life, and I need you here by my side. Lord, I got a situation, only you can make it right. I surrender, please be my guide. I'll sit and wait patiently. I know that in your time that you will answer me. Lord, I thank you for letting me cast my fears and healing all the pain and drying my tears. You promised to always be there. Because